I'm Sally Smith and I lead the global product marketing team at Vodafone Business. I'm delighted today to be joined by Andy Kivell, who's our head of connectivity portfolio at Vodafone Business, and also Gordon Thomson, who's vice president of EMEAR Specialist Sales at Cisco. And today we're going to explore Vodafone Business SD-WAN with Cisco. So before we get going into the topic of SD-WAN, it would be great to hear from both of you a little bit about Vodafone and Cisco's history together.
We've had a strong partnership for many, many years together. And more recently, probably over the last 3 or 4 years, we've been working well in terms of creating a strong managed service-based Cisco SD-WAN Viptela technology offer out to our respective customers. The respective technology teams have been working to maximize the integration between our platforms, really allowing for full automation of deployment, collecting critical metrics around things like billing, so that we can really move faster to onboard our customers together. The benefit of this to our joint customers, is really around the speed of deploying new services, which is, in this digital world that we're operating in today, is really critical. So we have a strong relationship and continuing to build in multiple areas, but certainly our managed SD-WAN offer is really about delivering the ultimate application and user experience for all of our mutual customers.
That's great to hear the perspective from Cisco. Andy, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Gordon covered it. Cisco is a hugely important partner to us in Vodafone in a number of technology areas. And really, Vodafone's reputation as a global network leader is in large part based on the partnership we've had with Cisco for many years. Regarding SD-WAN, we started our journey moving out of traditional IPVPNs into SD-WAN with Cisco using an IWAN launch, and we've evolved that out to a full SD-WAN solution based on Viptela, which we launched back in 2019. And in that time, it's not just been about launching the initial products, but we've done a lot of innovations with Cisco and leveraging the partnership between the two organizations. Things like looking at how we enable the use of the legacy edge CPEs to enable SD-WAN migration and make that easy for our customers, or looking at how we put seamless expansion of optimization and cloud on-ramp to help customers enable cloud services with SD-WAN, and even down to the integrations Gordon was talking about, enabling us to launch fully digital moves, adds, and changes and make that customer interaction with the product easier has been key. And I think the partnership's been strong because of the strengths that we both have individually and what that means when it comes together. Vodafone brings together a global network scale and the ability to mix fixed and mobile networks together for access solutions. And that's based on Cisco having a market-leading technology and a really strong heritage within routing and switching technology that brings to the fore. Collectively, that means Cisco are a huge proportion of our overall SD-WAN base, and helps us drive triple-digit growth within that product line. So it's a massively rewarding partnership for both of us and for our customers as well.
Brilliant, thank you. I think that'd be great if we can turn to the customer's perspective of SD-WAN and why we think it's such an impactful and desirable technology. And if you could, I think we start with you, Andy, and we hear a little bit about the customer benefits, but also some real examples of global deployments where we've delivered it in multiple countries for our customers.
Sure. So I think the first thing to say is, SD-WAN is here to stay. It's become the default option for our customer base when they're looking at replacing traditional MPLS and hybrid WANs. And every RFP or every customer engagement we've got now, particularly within the large MNC, multinational corporate or the national corporate space, specifies SD-WAN as a solution. And there's a number of things driving that within our customer base. We're seeing an acceleration of cloud adoption. It's not an if, it's when and how fast within our customer base. Remote working was a thing before COVID, but I think that COVID's been that big social experiment that's seen us move to remote working and hybrid working, and has changed the way that our customers have to think about allowing their users to access the network. There has been a definite move to internet replacing MPLS as an underlay network. We see 60% upwards of our traditional MPLS access being replaced with internet. And that's all happening at the same time as the application environment's changing. And we see a lot more kind of unpredictable and dynamic demands on the networks as well. And SD-WAN brings a whole lot of advantages there around cloud management and agility, higher availability, and the ability to do that over the top of these hybrid access networks that makes it really attractive. So, Cisco's SD-WAN really helps us do that for whether it's domestic or an international backbones, and it extends that strength that I mentioned that they have in routing and switching into the software-defined networking and into cloud access and cloud enablement for our customers as well. You asked about an example. We've got many customer examples. I think one that springs to mind that really talks about the synergies that we get between the partnership between Cisco and Vodafone is a solution that we've rolled out for a large logistics company based out of APAC. And they needed a solution for their wide area networking that could respond to what they were seeing as quite a challenging business environment and the needs that they had for flexibility. So we managed to transition for them from their traditional IPVPN network into a Cisco-based SD-WAN technology. And we also upgraded the underlying fixed network to be a mix of internet, traditional fixed, and also 4G mobile technology. And that gave them some advantages in terms of the ability to do very rapid deployment of sites. They were facing into a situation where often they would need to bring up new sites or new hubs, and we were able to provide them business agility that we could deploy as fast as we could get mobile access and equipment there, rather than the legacy lead times that they would have when they were trying to put fixed networks in there. And SD-WAN was critical to that because it allowed us to blend that fixed and wireless network together into a solution that worked seamlessly for them. They were abstracted, if you like, from that access technology. We were also able to bring together a number of security features and a managed security wrap tightly integrated with that, which also gave them peace of mind around the security of the network, particularly when they were working in sites where they didn't have as much physical security as you may perhaps expect in a traditional office. And the results have been really good for them. They've been able to be agile. They've been able to respond with their IT stack and their IT technology in a way that fulfilled the speed that the business was demanding for them in terms of change. And the other really interesting piece that's been attractive for them is that mix of mobile and fixed access that we can provide has actually improved their network reliability. That they're less prone to outages in areas in fixed networks, particularly when acting or operating in areas where the infrastructure is not as reliable. And we've only had one significant fault in 3 years on that network, which is unheard of traditionally, has exceeded all the SLAs that we've had in place with them, and has left them very impressed with what SD-WAN's been able to offer them.
I think Andy explained really well, why people are deploying SD-WAN, but it's always good to talk about examples in terms of the benefits that customers are getting from it. And one of the best examples I've seen between Cisco and Vodafone deploying is with a company called Galp Energy. Now, they're a company headquartered in Lisbon. They have over 1,200 sites in Spain and Portugal alone. The majority of those sites are smaller sites like petrol stations and small convenience stores. And they were looking at upgrading their network across all of that network. They were looking to do really 3 things. First thing they were looking to do is to give their customers a better experience in store. At the heart of that was about providing Wi-Fi for them. Now, as you provide Wi-Fi for your customer, you're also wanting to protect all of your systems that are operating within the store as well. So they had to think deeply around how they provided that while also segmenting the network to protect their existing systems in terms of connectivity. The second thing they wanted to do was get real customer data in a real-time basis so they could understand their customers' buying behaviours much faster and that they could adjust more quickly to what they're seeing in terms of those trends happening. And thirdly, they wanted to build a more robust and reliable connectivity experience. If they lost a connection, they wanted to be able to dual home through 5G technology or however to make sure that that site stayed up. So they wanted to roll out all of this technology quickly and effectively because they knew it would deliver significant business benefit while really working closely on the security requirements that could be delivered at the edge of the network as well. And Cisco and Vodafone, together with the secure SD-WAN technology, delivered this beautifully for the customer. We achieved all of this and rolled it all out within 6 months. So on top of all of the benefits that Andy's talked about in terms of deploying SD-WAN technology, the other benefit is it absolutely helps accelerate digital transformation for our customers in terms of the way that we can roll it out.
I think you touched on it both there, which has been brilliant to hear. But I wondered if we could just now turn to look at the outcomes that our customers are seeing. So you've talked about some of the operational benefits of deploying it, but actually, how does it benefit businesses when they have deployed it? And typically, over what timeframes can they expect to see those benefits be realised? I think if we could look at your example, Gordon, that you just shared first, that would be great.
Yeah, by all means. So, for me, I'll pull out three key benefits, I think, but we've really touched on one of them already. It's really that time to market, the ability to deliver against the business requirements that you want quickly. When you do that, you then start to see other benefits come through. From a technical point of view, we see cost savings around network management, maintenance and upgrades. Andy mentioned earlier on how reliable other networks are that you deploy and you maintain. We see a high level of this reliability across these networks. The other thing is cost, right? Everybody's looking at their costs at the moment. And when you think about traditionally connecting not just to one cloud, but to multiple clouds to where those applications may reside, the cost can be really vast. And SD-WAN helps to really control the costs that ultimately you deliver. The final thing I'll say is, as people connect from anywhere to any cloud and any application, you better make sure the experience that the person has when they're using the application is great. And ultimately, SD-WAN works very well to help protect the application and the user experience. In terms of typical ROI, really, most customers should be seeing a complete ROI within a 3-year window. They shouldn't expect, with the value that they get from SD-WAN, to be looking at anything longer in terms of ROI. But I'm also seeing some customers see ROIs in less than 12 months. That's how compelling this technology can be.
Thank you for that answer. Andy, is there anything that you would add or share to that a bit further?
Yeah, well, I think Gordon's nailed it, right? And so my points would have been the same as his, perhaps a little bit of color on those. I'd encourage our customers, and when I talk to them in terms of the economics, to think about cost savings beyond straight megabit changes. Beyond, often the highlight figure is, we get to move from MPLS to internet, and it's going to be cheaper. I think of course you do get that, but Gordon's highlighted that really there's TCO savings far beyond that. And I'd point to the operational efficiencies, the fact that they can reconsider and rethink about how their network teams operate and run because of the benefits that SD-WAN brings and the lower operational overheads. And frankly, the lower outages and the more availability. And we've seen customers really see big TCO advantages there as well. The user experience is spot on. The network availability, we talked about the fact that we can use multipaths, but hopefully we'll come on to, there's some caveats there. I think there's some lessons to be learned from the deployments that what you need to do and how you need to approach your projects when you're rolling it out in order to achieve those benefits.
That rolls really nicely onto the next question I've got for you both, which was for those customers that might not yet have started their SD-WAN journey or are certainly in the very early stages. Are there any top tips or learnings that we've seen from other customers that we can share? I guess, Andy, let's start with you for that.
Yeah, sure. And look, it's an interesting question. And I think, as Gordon and I said, we've been on a journey with our customers for at least three or 4 years now with SD-WAN. And there's certainly some common themes that we see. I think the most important one, I would say at the start, is for our customers, and when they're thinking about engaging with service providers and they're thinking about what kind of solution they want, to focus a lot on the why. Why do they want SD-WAN? Or the what? What are they trying to achieve with it? What business benefit or what user outcome are they trying to achieve? This is much more important than trying to work out how they're going to deploy it. I think it's what we have seen is poor implementations where people have tried to deploy SD-WAN in exactly the same architecture as they have with an IP VPN router. They've just changed the CPE. They've had very fixed ideas on the way they want traffic routed or routing to work or their connections to the cloud to work. And essentially, by maintaining an old style networking architecture paradigm, they've prevented themselves from getting the benefits of SD-WAN because they've ended up fighting against a new way of designing and thinking about networks. So at best, they miss out on the benefits. At worst, in fact, they end up with an unreliable or a complex or an expensive solution because they're trying to kind of fit a square box in a round hole. And I think that's one of the things that I would stress. It needs a new paradigm and a new way of thinking about network design. And as well as that, we're moving into a software world. And there's lessons that we can learn from other software worlds, whether that's desktops or whether that's cloud hosting, which is that standardization is key and customization is actually your enemy. And that may sound a little odd, but it's really important that we look at standard designs for deployments. That allows us to build on the benefits or build on the features of SD-WAN to use templating and use standardizations for fast rollout, fast change. And it makes the in-life experience a lot easier to manage because with a software-based network, it makes it easy to bring new features in and new upgrades and new releases. And that's a lot easier to manage when you've got standard templates or standard designs that you're testing against. And it also allows changes and new feature implementation to be done much more easily. So that's the second point. And I think the last point I'd make around that is that you do need to retrain your teams and rethink about the skill sets that you've got in your own networking teams. So consider how you train and upskill them on SD-WAN technology before deployment and continue to do it after the deployment. And really think about the fact that SD-WAN and security are coming together to almost be a single discipline now with the rise of SASE networks. And what does that mean for the way that you've structured your own support teams? We see in many customers still silos of network and security being far apart from each other. But in actual fact, the solutions and the technology, particularly the work we're doing with Gordon and Cisco on SASE deployments, means those two disciplines are very, very close together and need to be considered holistically. Gordon, I don't know if those are the same things you see or whether you've got some other ones I've missed out on there.
I think you've captured it. You know, the key thing you said right at the start is, you know, when customers are migrating or upgrading, don't think about it as a traditional routing network. This SD-WAN project is an opportunity for fresh thinking, for new designs, to take advantage of new technology, you know, paradigms. There's an amount of customers that say, we used to do it that way, we just want to replicate what we used to do, you know, and you know, that old world thinking isn't really going to help organizations achieve what they want to achieve. The final thing I think I would say, Andy, is many of the networks that we are working on together are large networks that have grown over time, in many instances without a consistent set of documentation. And although we're telling people to think with fresh ideas and new approaches, it's critical one of the first steps we do is we get into a real review of the existing deployments and how those network services are offered across the network today. And it's by doing that due diligence at the start and by then approaching things with that fresh thinking and those ideas allows our customers to really build the network environment for the future that's going to help protect them on their journey, you know, to digital transformation, whatever that may be. And so, yeah, you know, there's a lot of new ways for people to think, but there's still a lot of due diligence that they need to do at the start.
You touched on there, Gordon, around the documentation side, and I just wondered if there were any elements that a customer should be considering in their business case development, or even as far as including in the RFP that they put out to suppliers that might help them mitigate some of those pitfalls or certainly lessen the impact of them.
A good question. I've maybe not got a good answer for, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, I think it's really all about, you know, that due diligence up front. If they do that due diligence up front in terms of understanding the way the network it presently is rolled out and how the network services are presently delivered, it's much easier to get into new design thinking as they move forward. A critical component of this, and I think we'll touch on it in a minute or two in terms of, you know, that design is security. And certainly the security conversation is a much more complex conversation that we would have with customers at either RFP or indeed at network design stages. But yeah, I'm not sure I've got the best answer in the world for you on that one.
Perhaps Sally, I can jump in and add insight. I think Gordon's right. My observation, we've had some rollouts where through the business case and through the RFP, the customers hadn't built in or had made an assumption that they already knew what the network architecture was like, what the current application flows, what services they were running, and hadn't built in an audit or a network discovery phase or done some consultancy or managed services work up front to understand that, which meant as we started to roll out and problems came up, that the work then needed to be done and was out of budget and out of business case, and they ran into all of the usual challenges that you will in a large organization of having to go back and get more budget or find a way of doing it within the project budget. So I think I would make sure if I was sitting on a customer's side that I'd been honest with myself about how good our documentation was, and if it wasn't, that I built in a discovery phase there, either before the RFP or as part of an RFP, looking for a partner that could provide that. I also think allowing for proof of concept stages and testing of the standardized designs is important as well, because you never fully know what's deployed until you deploy those first few sites and find out that they work. And it's fine to have an aggressive rollout plan, but build some buffer in for discovery and for rework with those first few sites, because particularly in very large complex organizations, I understand how hard it is for those IT departments to always know what's being deployed and what's running across their networks, or how those applications, particularly if they're older applications, are going to perform once they move into an SD-WAN world. I think it's less of a worry with modern cloud or SaaS where that's more understood.
Hopefully some of those tips will help customers as they start their journey. So thank you for that. You've both touched on security and the importance of this, and I think we all know that that's top of mind for many, many people. Would you guys be able to explain a little bit about how Vodafone Business and Cisco are supporting customers as they move what Vodafone describes as a secure connected enterprise model? Andy, if we can start with you first.
Yeah, okay, sure. And I don't want to steal all Gordon's thunder because he's got a lot of good stuff on this. But I think, it's clear that I talked a little bit about the why people want to do SD-WAN or what they're trying to achieve with the networks, and that is changing. Post-pandemic, we talked about the fact that workforces are more hybrid, so they're accessing networks from a different place, from places that perhaps have less physical perimeter security for them. We're also seeing a proliferation of we talk about IoT, but it's just devices connecting to networks, right? It's not traditional people with PCs or people with laptops. It's a lot of devices using networks as well. And again, they can be located in all kinds of places. And so we're presenting more security risk in terms of that access. And it's really important that enterprises can get a robust sort of zero trust posture to allow those devices to connect to the network and the assets for the business efficiency and the value that it creates, but still protect the business from risk. And using a traditional data center centric security perimeter isn't viable for that. It doesn't deliver either the security or the user experience, and it's not required. So, our Vodafone approach looks at how do we take connectivity, SD-WAN, edge security, managed services, and bring them all together in a way that can work as a kind of a coherent SASE architecture or security architecture for our businesses. And we've worked very closely with Cisco on this, and Gordon can talk a little bit more about the skills and capability they bring to initially allow for what we call a multi-vendor approach, where we can use customers' existing security vendors and integrate them tightly with the Cisco SD-WAN. That's been super important. But more and more, we're looking at how we use Cisco's security capability and embed it in for these single vendor solutions, which is the direction of travel. You get very, very tight integration between your security policy management and your networking operation. And we see real benefits in terms of operational simplicity, excellence in user experience to allow any device to connect to the cloud from anywhere in a secure way.
Andy, I think you've got it there. Security is critical in this environment. As you said at the start, people are connecting from different places, and they're connecting to different places in multiple different clouds. And when that happens, you have to think deeply about security. The great thing about SD-WAN technologies is since day one, security has been natively embedded into the way we approach SD-WAN with things like always-on encryption or traffic segmentation in terms of how we segment traffic across the network to protect it in terms of its flows, and many, many more things. And ultimately what's happening now is that that's being extended with the integration into the cloud. So you're starting to hear terms like SASE in terms of our ability to provide security at the edge and be fully integrated. And the great thing is Cisco and Vodafone together are already looking at how we deliver flexible SASE projects to our customers on a customized basis at the moment. But in parallel, as the industry moves more to kind of standardize around SASE managed services, Cisco and Vodafone have been working over the last few months on a plan to have an end-to-end integrated SASE standard managed service offering suitable for all of our large multinational companies. So this ability to bring the flexibility of connectivity together with SD-WAN and the security of no matter where you're connecting from on any device to any application, and to be able to, in a zero trust posture, manage all of this effectively, it's easy to use words like game changer. It's maybe not a game changer, but it's certainly of significant benefits to our customers as they continue on their digital transformation journey, Sally.
That's great, thank you. So we've come to the end now. On behalf of Andy, Gordon and myself, thank you for watching. We hope that you've found this of use, particularly if you're starting your SD-WAN journey. If you have any questions, please do email these to the email address you can see on the screen, which is SD-WAN questions you always wanted to ask, all one word, at vodafone.com. And one of the team will come back to you as soon as they can. Also, please keep an eye out for your exclusive access to a Gartner report on enterprise networking that we think you'll find interesting and useful wherever you are in your SD-WAN journey. So thank you and goodbye.